The house sat at the end of Maple Street, its sagging frame wrapped in thick ivy, its windows staring out like empty eyes. But one window, the second-floor bay, framed by yellowing lace curtains, never seemed empty. Behind it, the silhouette of an old woman lingered, motionless, day and night. Children dared each other to wave at her, only to run when she didn't wave back. Neighbors whispered of seeing her thin fingers tapping against the glass, her hollow eyes following passers-by. The mailman swore he once saw her mouth moving as if speaking, though no one ever heard a sound. It's just old Mrs. Whitmore, some would say, but others weren't so sure. Mrs. Whitmore had passed away years ago, yet the figure remained. Some believed it was her restless spirit, unwilling to leave the home she had lived in for decades. Others suggested a more sinister presence had taken her place. A few skeptics argued it was nothing more than a trick of light and shadow. Then there were the stories. A former tenant claimed to have rented the house after Mrs. Whitmore's death, only to flee weeks later, terrified by the sound of footsteps pacing near the window. A teenager once took a photograph, only to find the image distorted, the old woman's face warped into something inhuman. The rumors grew, and so did the fear, yet no one dared investigate. The house had been abandoned for years, but the figure in the window never disappeared. One stormy night, a group of locals decided to uncover the truth. Armed with flashlights and a deep sense of dread, they stepped onto the rotting porch, determined to solve the mystery once and for all. As they reached for the door, the curtains in the second-floor window shifted. The old woman moved, and for the first time in decades, she smiled. For as long as anyone could remember, the house at the end of Maple Street had been the source of whispered tales and childhood dares. Long before Mrs. Whitmore's solitary silhouette haunted the upstairs window, the land itself bore an unsettling history. "There's something wrong with that place," muttered Mr. Langley, the town's oldest resident. "Even before Whitmore lived there, strange things happened." He spoke of a time when the house belonged to the Holloway family, who vanished without a trace in 1912. The furniture remained untouched, meals left half-eaten on the table, but the family was never seen again. Mrs. Dupree, who had lived in the neighborhood for over 50 years, swore she once saw the old woman's figure move, despite the house being abandoned. "I was walking home one evening, and I saw her hand press against the glass. But when I looked closer, the handprint faded like it was never there." Teenagers, eager for a thrill, often sneaked into the yard, daring one another to step onto the front porch. Most left running before reaching the door, claiming to hear whispers in the wind. "I heard my name," confessed one shaken local, now an adult, "clear as day, like someone inside was calling me." Beyond personal accounts, the house's history wove itself into local legend. Some believed it was built on cursed ground, tied to the disappearance of a young girl in the late 1800s. Others whispered that Mrs. Whitmore had dabbled in dark practices, speaking to unseen forces from that very window. Despite its chilling reputation, no one could deny the house's significance to the town's identity. Generations passed, yet the same tales resurfaced, retold in hushed voices over campfires and at late-night gatherings. Yet one thing remained consistent in every story. The old lady at the window, whether ghost, illusion, or something far worse, she continued to watch. And for those who dared to look too long, some swore she watched them back. Despite the eerie tales surrounding the house, some skeptics argue that the figure in the window has a logical explanation. Scientists and investigators have attempted to demystify the phenomenon, proposing theories rooted in psychology, physics, and environmental factors. One popular theory suggests that the old lady's image is nothing more than an optical illusion. Light from passing cars, street lamps, or even the moon could reflect off the glass in such a way that it appears as if someone is standing there. "Our brains are wired to recognize faces," explained Dr. Evan Carter, a cognitive psychologist. "When people expect to see a figure, their minds can create one from shadows and reflections." Weather conditions could also play a role. On humid nights, condensation forms on the glass, sometimes leaving behind vague shapes. In colder months, frost patterns may create outlines eerily resembling a human form, A few residents believe shifting air currents within the house could also cause the curtains to move on their own, making it seem as though someone is standing behind them. Then there's the structural argument. The house has been abandoned for years with peeling wallpaper and cracked windows. Some experts believe that an old mannequin or life-size doll could have been left behind, possibly positioned near the window before the last occupants fled. Over time, dust and decay might have distorted its features, giving it an unnatural, unsettling appearance. However, not everyone is convinced by scientific reasoning. Some suggest that the phenomenon is simply an elaborate hoax. "It's a prank," said local skeptic Robert Hill, probably some teenagers sneaking in and setting up a dummy to keep the legend alive. Yet, when asked how the figure never changes position, never deteriorates, and never fails to appear, Hill had no answer. Despite numerous investigations, no one has ever successfully debunked the mystery. Whether illusion, hoax, or something beyond explanation, the old lady at the window remains, and those who look too long still swear sometimes, just sometimes, she looks right back. For those who reject logical explanations, the old lady at the window is more than a trick of the light. She is a lingering spirit, bound to the house by forces beyond comprehension. Paranormal enthusiasts and ghost hunters have long been drawn to the Eerie dwelling, hoping to capture evidence of its haunted nature. Legend suggests Mrs. Whitmore never truly left. Some believe she was a recluse who dabbled in the occult, performing rituals at that very window. "She used to whisper things," said Margaret Lewis, a former neighbor. "I'd see her lips moving, but there was no one there to listen." Some claim she invited something into the house, something that never left. Classic signs of a haunting surround the property. Residents have reported flickering lights in the abandoned home, cold spots forming near the front gate, and strange whispers carried by the wind. Those who have dared to step onto the porch describe an overwhelming sense of dread, as if something unseen is watching. Paranormal investigators who visited the house recorded electronic voice phenomena, EVP, capturing faint murmurs and an unsettling phrase, "Go away." Some believe the house is host to residual energy, an echo of past events replaying over time. If Mrs. Whitmore spent her final years staring out that window, perhaps her spirit remains trapped in an endless loop, unable to move on. Others argue the presence is more than a harmless imprint. The figure's unchanging stance, its unblinking stare, and the reports of shadowy movement within the house suggest something more sinister. A few paranormal researchers even suspect a malevolent entity has taken residence. Strange claw-like marks have been found on the window frame, and animals refuse to go near the house. A former tenant who lived there briefly in the 1980s claimed to wake up each night at exactly 3:13 a.m., hearing the creak of footsteps pacing near the window. Whether ghost, demon, or an entity beyond human understanding, one thing is certain. The old lady at the window is more than just a story, and those who come too close may find themselves part of the legend. The mystery of the old lady at the window has captivated the town for generations. We've explored the unsettling eyewitness accounts, chilling local legends, and scientific explanations. Some believe the figure is nothing more than an illusion, tricks of light, weather conditions, or even an elaborate hoax. Others insist the presence is supernatural, a restless spirit lingering in a place it refuses to leave. There is evidence to support both sides. Skeptics argue that our minds naturally seek patterns, especially when fear is involved, turning shadows and reflections into something more sinister. The deteriorating structure of the house, combined with environmental factors, could easily explain why some see movement or hear strange noises. But then, how do we explain the EVP recordings, the unexplainable cold spots, or the stories of those who felt something watching them? The possibility of a paranormal presence cannot be ignored. Legends of past disappearances, whispered incantations at the window, and the house's dark history only deepen the mystery. If residual energy is at play, perhaps the old lady is simply a ghost trapped in time. Or could something far more malevolent be lurking behind that glass, something waiting to be acknowledged? With all the theories presented, one question remains: what is the truth? Is the figure in the window a lingering echo of the past, a spirit yearning to be set free, or a terrifying entity that feeds on fear? Or is it all just an illusion fueled by decades of superstition? We may never know for sure, but one thing is certain: the old lady at the window isn't going anywhere. She has watched for years, and she continues to watch. Now, we turn to you. What do you think lies behind that window? Do you believe in the supernatural, or do you have a logical explanation? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's uncover the truth together. But be warned, stare too long and you just might see her staring back.